concept is celebrating that we want to have great relationships. If you want to be a mom, you want to do well in motherhood, you want to have people to support you in a community. If you have a career, you want to have like best tips. You want to have a network. You want to expand. You want to be motivated. We also have beauty, wellness, fashion. There isn't something that includes everyone. We have all of it.
This is Meghan Fialkoff, co-founder of Modern Day Wife. She has nearly 2 decades of producing events, a co-founder who matched her conviction and the willingness to figure it out. Together, they built Modern Day Wife into a self-funded lifestyle brand spanning cities across North America, proving that purpose, profit, and personality can all live in the same room.
Welcome to the Purpose Profit Shift, where real stories about bold shifts illuminate how we can create a new economy. I'm your host, Rachel Bernier Green, social entrepreneur, activist, and founder of Thrivo Financial Advisory, formerly known as Economic Justice Consortium, a finance consulting firm designed to help purposeful businesses change the world. Today, I am sitting down with the co-founder of Modern Day Wife, Meghan Fialkoff. Meghan is the co-founder and an honorary doctorate recipient in humanitarian studies who spent nearly 2 decades running a drug prevention nonprofit where she produced over 2,000 events. Together with her co-founder, Meghan, they've built a completely self-funded global membership and lifestyle company that's expanding to cities across North America, and they were just here in my hometown of Chicago, and soon internationally. This is a masterclass in what happens when purpose, partnership, and profit move together. Let's get into it. Meghan, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And yes, we were just in Chicago and it was, I don't know, it was just such an amazing event. I love Chicago.
Oh, I am so bummed that I missed it, but I'm glad that you all had a great time.
Totally.
So you have quite a fascinating story. You co-founded a nonprofit with your father right out of college, and you spent almost 2 decades producing events with everyone from the UN to LL Cool J. So what was the thread connecting all of that work, and what eventually pulled you toward entrepreneurship?
Okay, well, it's kind of a longer story, all of that. But essentially, when I graduated college, when I was in college, I had an internship and I was in a corporate building eating lunch by myself in a corporate lunchroom.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my God, I can't do this when I graduate. So I went to go work with my dad when I graduated. He's a periodontist in New York. And so I helped him run his office, but really we ran this charity together of drug education and prevention. And all my friends had very fabulous jobs in Manhattan and whatnot. And I really wanted to do something that was beyond just me. I feel like most people are doing things really just for themselves and how much money can you make and how much more material things can you get.
yeah.
And I was kind of like, well, I think I'm just going to play a different game and set a different example on that. There's other areas of life that actually need all of our attention on this planet, right? And because we were in a position that we could do this type of work, then we did kind of have the responsibility to do it too. So, of course, when I do things, I do like to do them big. So when we first set out, the target was that I found out there were over 2,000 schools in New York City. So our first goal was to do an event at every single school.
Oh, wow.
And then essentially that's what we pretty much have done. The idea was to fill the calendar and just organically build our way up the hierarchy of organizations. We didn't start at the top. We really started at the bottom and first of all, built our own confidence that we could deliver this program well and then get enough referrals and so on to work our way up. Which is funny now that I'm saying that. It's kind of how we run Modern Day Wife, right? We started with small businesses. We continue working with small businesses, and then we've worked our way working with bigger and bigger businesses. But essentially, I still have my fingers on it, but I moved to California to get married in 2015.
Okay.
At that point, I really needed to have a plan on what I was going to do in my life and so on. And I did fundraising for a few years, but then I got pregnant and I needed to have flexibility in my schedule if I wanted to be a mom. So I very serendipitously met my business partner. She was putting on a modern day wife event with Elena Cardone, which was digital, and it was benefiting my charity. And
Ah,
so I fell in love with her. I fell in love with the concept of modern day wife. I somehow just got it without even knowing what it was. Just this idea of like, yeah, having it all. And as a girl coming up in high school and college and my 20s, I had an idea of what I wanted my life to be like and the fullness of it and the adventure and so on. And I think that's what modern day wife communicated to me. And because it does communicate different things to different people. And we basically decided to partner after that experience, launch it in the US, and the rest is history.
so I love that you just kind of walked us through that entire journey. But the two of you, when you were deciding to launch this in the as an events based company together, you were doing that during COVID, which arguably is probably the worst time in history to launch an events based company. So tell me kind of what gave you guys the conviction to be able to move forward with this idea together.
Wow, these are like really good questions. No one's ever asked me these types of
Oh,
questions before. Very interesting. Okay, well, basically, she had been doing in person events in Vancouver, Canada
okay.
before 19 and the beginning of 2020. And then she was putting on that one digital event. And when I partnered with her, I was 7 months pregnant. And it was her idea that we would do this event, I think called Think Outside the Box or something that September. And it would be digital. And what ended up happening was, we went all in. We got Rebecca Minkoff as our first speaker. Like it was a big first digital event. And we basically took advantage of the digital events because we went hardcore. We did one major event every month. We had pre-filmed segments. We just did like we found this platform called Hopin.
Love
We were able to
hopping.
tap into both of our communities at that point, her Canadian community and then my US community
Hmm.
and expand it right away. And because people were just like taking advantage of doing nothing, the fact that we were hustling, like I hustled, I never took a maternity leave. I don't recommend it, but I knew that's what it would take to build this company was the sacrifice I did for many years to get it to where it is today. But essentially, we took advantage of that nobody was doing anything, that we did a major event every single month. And I mean, I don't know, a 5 hour event, different live speakers, celebrities, sponsored spots, pre-filmed spots, like a like a vendor market, digital marketplace where you could go to that page and click on brands and shop
I
their
am
website. Like
exhausted
I we
just
just
thinking about
we
this.
just did it and it worked because no one was really doing anything
Right.
or they were doing it sporadically. The other thing that was helpful for our success in the beginning was that celebrities were very willing to speak at these digital events because they had
Mm,
nothing else to do. And so we kind of got on the forefront and on like a world stage very fast because a lot of celebrities said yes. So that's what happened and that's how we were able to be successful was by constantly putting out these massive events. It was never ending. We always had a new event. And I think by May 2021, we were putting on an event with another women's group called Boss Talks, and we even had a beauty box that came with a ticket. And also, last thing is in April 2021, we did our first in-person event, which April 2021 was no one was doing an in-person event,
right.
but we did. And we continued in June. We did 3 in 2 weeks in Vancouver, Scottsdale, and LA. And then in August 2021, we put on a massive, big in person event in LA. And no one was doing that. So we were risky and it worked in our favor.
That is quite an accomplishment. I did one virtual conference on Hopin during the early pandemic, and I just remember how much work went into that one single conference. So I cannot fathom doing them month after month after month.
It
Just a
was
Herculean
insane.
effort,
It was insane.
truly. But it seems like it paid off.
Totally. If we didn't do that, we wouldn't have been where we are today. And if we didn't just like take so many risks, I think what happened is for me, I've never been like with when I was doing the nonprofit with my dad and then doing Modern Day Wife with Megan, having a partner, like both of them who are very self-assured. I don't know if that's the right word, but like
Yeah.
they both don't worry about things, whereas I'm more of a worrier. It made me feel like we could do it because they felt like, oh, it's going to happen. It's fine. So I just dove into things like planning that event in August 2021 and just like selling vendor spots. And we didn't even know if anyone would come. We put it at the Lux Hotel in LA in this massive parking lot they had in this pool area. And Megan, I think, just was like, yeah, we're going to do it. And we created this event and we were selling so many vendor spots, like 30 plus. And we had no idea if anyone would come. And because she felt secure about it, I didn't worry about it. And then it did happen.
Mhm.
And that is also, I think, something that's made us successful too. That's, I think, the importance of a partnership.
So I love that. And you described, I'm kind of picking up now why you have the role that you do in the business. And I've seen you describe this before as aligning, your focus is aligning every aspect of the business, operations, collaborations, and growth so that MDW grows intentionally. So, what does that look like on the day to day when you're now scaling across multiple cities?
Well, the reason why we do so many cities is because I didn't want to be a local brand. I didn't want to be
Mhm.
like a local women's chapter or something like that. I want us to be a big global brand, right? And in order to get big, you have to be everywhere and you have to have communities everywhere. And so essentially that is why I made the decision, well, why we made the decisions to do many, many cities. Also, we didn't want to become oversaturated, right? Like even this
Mhm.
year, we're only doing one event in LA, whereas we normally do three. And the reason for that is because we want to keep it fresh and special and so
Right,
on. So if we only have one event a year, everyone's going to be waiting for that event. And so that's why we do a lot of different cities, but it has proved to be successful. This is why I tell sponsors to go on tour with us. Because if people are always talking about scaling and their communities and influencers and
right.
so on, then you have to be there. And so if you do every single one of our events and go on tour with us, then you're going to instantaneously have a mailing list, a community, and influencers in all of these major cities in the US and Canada. So, because that's how it works for us. Like, I just put on this event last week in Chicago. We've never been to Chicago. I had no community there. I didn't know anyone there. I maybe know three people that live in Chicago separately in my personal life. And now we have a massive, like, literally a massive community from just like deciding to open up this city. The truth is, I could do an event every 3 to 4 weeks. Really, the hardest part about putting on events is obviously funding it. You have to have enough sponsors,
Right.
and that is the hardest part. But we have kind of a magic sauce on how to get people there and we have a great team that can produce the event really well. So I even, I had a woman at the event who said to me, oh my God, I live in Atlanta. Can you come? And I was like, listen, I'm down to go everywhere. Just like help us find local sponsors. And then it's a piece of cake.
Yeah. So now that you brought up the kind of funding thing, Modern Day Wife is completely self funded. And especially in a world where everyone is obsessed with raising capital, why did you all choose to bootstrap? And how has that kind of shaped some of the decisions that you've made, especially while you're in growth mode?
Because I don't even know how to do that. I mean, I don't have an MBA. I didn't go to Wharton School of Business. I went to University of Maryland, but I have a degree in PR. And I'm kind of a little rogue, meaning everything I've done has been just somehow figuring it out from what I know,
Hmm.
but and seeing other people and sometimes just copying what they do, or at least having an example. For
Yeah.
example, if you think of like the best event, you think of the Oscars maybe or the Vanity Fair party. And if you at least have an example of what's the best, then you can
Right.
approach that in what you're trying to deliver. So that's another way to know what you're doing is just look at what someone else is doing. But in regards to raising capital, I don't even know how to do that. And the truth, I'm just gonna be very honest because I think it's a waste of time for me to just say
I think
something
that
else
serves
that
everyone
sound
best.
important. But it's like there are a lot of women's groups that do provide mentors or different people to help me with this, but it's like I really don't even have time to go to those
Right.
meetings. But we are at a point now in the business where I am finally looking for a strategic partner to take us to the
Okay.
next level. So, for example, there are there's an organization that used to be called Founder Made,
Hmm.
and they put on more B2B events for beauty and wellness brands. And they sold after only probably 6 years to a trade show type company backed by capital investors or partners, whatever you want to call it. So I do pay attention to it all, but I don't like, we didn't even, I wouldn't have even known how to do that or showed them the information that they would have want to have
Yeah.
seen in the beginning. So we just did it ourselves because I don't know. I don't wanna owe anyone money. Like, I don't like
Hmm.
being in debt in general myself. I don't borrow money from people because, like, if you're gonna borrow money and you're in a situation where you have to borrow money, then how are you ever gonna pay them back? Because you wouldn't be in the situation where you had to borrow money. You see what I'm saying? So for me in the business, it's like I don't know, like we should just do it ourselves. But, and obviously being resourceful, like I've had a lot of interns, I had a lot of collaborations, a lot of contractors. But certainly we are at the point where I would like to find someone to help us get to the next level. And I am open to either outside investing or someone to buy a portion of our business who has the network to take us to the next level. So
Hmm.
that's really the simplicity of it. I don't think we were ready for it. I don't think that funny thing I'll tell you. Recently, I was like, I always felt like, oh, I'm this young girl. No one's going to take me seriously. And recently, I was like, I am 41 years old. I think I'm 29. Go in
Don't
these
we
meetings
all?
or talk to these women who aren't going to take me seriously. And then I finally had to have a wake up call just like last month that I was like, I am like a grown woman. Why am I worried about these women who are going to think I'm a joke? Like,
Yeah.
why do I think that? So I finally realized I was like, that's just not true. I'm 41,
Right.
play at the same table. Like, enough is enough, you know?
Yeah. You are a business owner and you are, have built a tremendous community and you are putting on, events that actually are impacting people's lives. So
Yeah.
like walk in that power of everything that you're doing.
Thank you. I'll tell you one other thing though in that regard, which is that I don't want to become this serious, all numbers kind of person um, who takes myself very seriously and intimidates other people. I I've found it very important, although I have to run a business and I have to push everyone and we have to make targets and all the things. I don't want to lose my core sense of fun and
Yeah,
happiness and my personality in the process of running a business. It's like a side
absolutely.
thing for me.
I feel like, I would even say that it can be a core thing because that's something that we talk a lot about on the podcast, especially when I'm talking to women founders, is how we have been conditioned to think to be a serious business person, you have to be stoic and serious and masculine. But there is so much power in leaning into our femininity and the way that we desire to show up, like as our full human selves, that vibrance, that's valuable and that we don't have to leave all of that outside. Like, I know for me, I spent a lot of my career shrinking to make other people comfortable. And now I'm in a place where I'm like, it's okay for me to take up space. I, have worked hard to be where I am. You've worked hard to be where you are. You've done tremendous things. You've done meaningful things. Like, it's okay for us to, stand up and take up all of the space that that encompasses.
Totally. It is. I'm telling you, so much has changed. Like this, we're going into our 6th year plus of business, right?
Hmm.
And something has happened this year for me. There's been so much growth, I feel, where I finally don't feel like I have to be modest anymore.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm going to become conceited. I was even telling this in
Right.
our team meeting this morning, but I feel I've gotten to a point where I'm like, wow, we've really built something. I really do run this company.
Yeah.
This is for real. And I have to start owning it and stop, just like you're saying, maybe feel that I have to yeah, make yourself less, or I don't know, I
Mhm.
can't even explain it, but a lot has changed this year for me in regards to feeling very confident and feeling like I
I
know
love
things are
that.
gonna happen, and just owning what I have built, just being proud
Yeah.
of it and not feeling like I need to make other people feel comfortable anymore. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense, and you are not alone in that journey. I hear it time and time again, and I love that you're voicing it because I think it's so powerful for other women and other founders to who may be feeling the same way to hear, us having this conversation and recognizing that they're not alone in that.
Totally. Well, yeah, I think that it's interesting. You have to you have to really one of the things I adopted that's really helped me the past few months is I decided to put blinders on. And in
Hmm.
regards to my own personal life and in regards to my business. And what I mean by that is I kind of stopped looking on social media. I unfollowed a lot of people. And I
Yeah.
decided that I don't really want to take people's advice, that I actually know what I'm doing. And when I put the blinders on, I don't feel sometimes you watch things and you can feel the change in how you feel when you
Yeah.
watch some content because you feel bad or you're not as good of a mom or you don't have as great of a husband or you're not as pretty or whatever in your business. So recently I was like, I'm just not going to go on social media. My entire feed now is AI animals, literally. And I feel better because I don't have anyone in my space anymore that I'm comparing myself to. It's just myself, my team, and we're just doing what we know we need to do. And I don't have these external influences on me making me feel less than. So that's another thing that's been really helpful.
Yeah. That goes a long way, and I think that that's such an important lesson, especially when, we were the first generation that grew up with and thankfully, we didn't grow up with social media in the same way that kids are growing up, where they're starting at a very young age, because, like, my first intro to social media, like, we had MySpace and Facebook. I was the first generation of college kids to have Facebook, but there was a lot more maturity than when, you get social media in elementary school like kids do now. But it
Totally.
does definitely take a toll, and choosing to be intentional about the imagery, and what you're consuming, it, like, does wonders for your psyche.
It's unbelievable. I think in Australia, they just outlawed social media for kids up to, I think, 18. It could be 16.
I could
But I was
believe
like, we
it.
should really do that here. Like, this is not,
It's Yeah, it can be so unhealthy sometimes.
it,
Yeah.
it's,
There are some,
yes.
like, sites that I just don't visit because I feel that everyone is just putting on a front and just showing off, like, the best things that happen to them, and it's not their real life at all, and when we only get these curated images and we're going through life that is looking a little bit more like a roller coaster, you're like, "What am I doing wrong?"
Wait, I can't believe you're saying this. I 1,000% agree. You know, I will tell you something though, and I don't want to use this like to be negative or to say something bad, but it's just the reality of that social media is not real. There is a couple that I had followed who all they do is show their relationship and their family and the perfection and the blah blah, right?
Mhm.
And recently someone told me something that they experienced with the husband, okay? And I was like, wow, like sometimes I think when people do push it so much and it seems unnatural,
Mhm.
maybe it is being
Sometimes it
forced.
is.
I'm from New York. I grew up on Long Island. I'm Italian and Jewish. I'm like the two this kind of stuff, right? Like oh, my back and the blah, blah, the coffee, I prefer I don't even feel comfortable if someone doesn't really express how they feel or their opinions. It doesn't feel good. You want to be with people who actually have something to say, and whether
Right.
it's good or it's bad, so that we can help each other when we're going through bad things or when we're going through good things. So yeah, I agree with you on the social media. And also it's important to practice what you preach. Like
Yeah.
if I did, let's say I had a guy who does buy me a new car. Let's say that does happen to me one day. I'm not going to post it on social media.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary. Anyways, we're getting into a whole thing, not business related, but
Oh,
I think you
that's
do have to
completely
be a little
okay.
mindful as to like, what's the intention? I think I'll make this more business. What is the intention of your communication? Is your intention to inspire? Is your intention to help? Is your intention to provide service? Or is your intention to just introvert other people so they feel like they don't have what you have? And I think the way you feel when you look at content answers the question as to intention. I
Yes.
could see a girl posting all about her skincare and so on and feel really good about it because I could tell her intention is like she's really into this and she wants to like show her secrets. Whereas there's some girls, maybe you follow their things and you feel less than them. So I
Right.
think that answers a lot about any content is how do you feel after you watch it? And that's how you know if that person has a good intention.
Yeah. That is so true. And I think that as you're explaining this, it's kind of because one of the questions I had for you was how you all build such a tremendous following, especially in new cities. But I'm imagining that part of the way that you built this community, like you came to Chicago and that was a new city for you, is because the energy that you're putting out there is something that attracts people and it feels real, that you're
Yes.
not shying away from like the full picture of, yeah, of the image you're presenting.
Totally. Also, two things on that. Number one, it's built on actual real relationships that we build ahead of going there. So it's not built from just, I don't know, maybe tagging someone that's in the area and then that's it. I don't know, we probably do over 200 Zoom calls, whether it's with potential sponsors, speakers, publicists, talent agencies, event partners, right? For this event in Chicago, we had a women's group called Empower Her Chicago.
Hmm.
We had Yelp Chicago and we had two media partners. And so those consisted of building real relationships. So when I finally met them in person, we were already friends as opposed
Yeah.
to just maybe it's all no substance. So there is something about live communication and building relationships ahead of going
Right.
somewhere that makes it more real. And I was even saying this on our celebrity panel on Friday because it was a lot about content creation, that panel. And I was saying that I don't like to follow trends on our social media. I'm not trying to knock anyone who does trends. It's fine. It's just not what I'm going to do is, um, I just so I we could actually put out a lot more content. Most of our content comes from everyone else going to our events, posting, us
That's
sharing it, so
fantastic.
I get it easy. But, I don't like to I don't like to follow the trends. That's just me. I'm not trying to knock anyone
Yeah.
who does. That's just not my style.
Yeah. And I think it's definitely, paying off as you guys are doing this expansion. And I know that there are so many pieces that come into it when you are scaling up your operations and you're moving to new cities. So, what are some of the operational systems that you're kind of building to support the sustainable growth at this scale for this next stage?
We have a lot of different things that we do. So first of all, having weekly meetings with your different teams is important. So we have a weekly meeting with our fashion show team, a weekly meeting with social media, and then two meetings a week with my sales team.
Okay.
So having those weekly meetings, setting targets, when things need to get done by, keeping everything on track, trying to hit your financial targets, obviously on time. So you're not worried, are we going to be able to fund this event, right? We have to stay on
Right.
target. And then the other teams need to back it up through whatever they do, their promotions, servicing people, and so on. So having those weekly meetings, and then we use some different programs like Asana. We use for our
Uh-huh.
social media team because a long, long time ago, it would be us sending emails and CCing ourselves to try to keep track of what hadn't been done.
Oh,
Whereas with Asana, you just put the tasks and then you can forget about it because it's going to remind them and you know when things get done. We use what else do we use? I mean, some of these are just mundane, like Calendly to book appointments, and obviously we use Zoom. What other program? We use MailChimp for our newsletters, and we use Mail Meteor for our bulk emails. I guess that's it. I had actually purchased two different programs and then decided not to go through with them last year.
okay.
Sometimes I find you hear all these like great promises. Like I bought this
Mm.
AI program, but then after we bought it, we couldn't reach anyone for a month to set it
Oh,
up.
no.
So I was like, we also like sometimes you buy into the easy way out. And the truth
Uh-huh.
is, there is no easy way out unless you're like Kim Kardashian, maybe. And it's going to take rolling up your sleeves, one by one, contacting people, getting calls on the calendar. There isn't like this. I don't think that, I mean, maybe I'm wrong and maybe someone can prove me wrong, but I don't think it exists to just have things so easy. So I guess those are like the main things that we use.
Okay. And what about financial tools? Because you talked about, having the right financial targets and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So what do you use to kind of help figure those things out?
Well, first of all, we have a bookkeeper. And she is so amazing. I don't know how I ever lived without a bookkeeper. So she handles obviously making sure that everything is very organized and every
Uh-huh.
single transaction has a receipt and so on. But the way that we do it is we know what our overhead is every
Uh-huh.
month and we know what our expenses are for every event. Like at this point, we know who needs to fly in staff wise,
Right.
what their food is going to cost, what their Ubers are going to cost to fly into an event, the celebrities, the photographer, the DJ, the decor, the creative director, the virtual assistant that is these lots of emails. Like I have the budget down to a T.
Yes.
So all that we really have to do is we pretty much plan our finances, not by month. So the way that our bookkeeper does it on QuickBooks is by event. There's a way that you can set up your
Yes.
finances where it's per event as opposed to per month. Like, because we're not a print shop where it's just like, this is how much you spent this month. Ours is we have to make a certain amount to get revenue past the budget and the expenses for the event.
Yes.
So we do it per event. And basically, we set the target based on all the expenses. Our sales staff set their own targets on what they want to make. And then obviously my partner and I have to bring in revenue for ourselves as well. So some cities like Chicago, since it was our first time there, it was not as, we didn't necessarily hit the exact targets. We did well. I didn't hit what I wanted to hit, but I'm very happy with the result and I'm very happy with what we did do. Whereas some cities like Los Angeles and Scottsdale, where we've been like 6 times already,
Yeah.
we have higher targets. So sometimes that can help to
I
overcompensate
love that.
smaller areas. So we basically we plan per event. And then I even know based on how many events we have a year and how much revenue we expect to make, then I can predict everything for the company and me personally. So that's how we manage it.
That's perfect, and I love to hear that from founders that have, like, a solid grasp of their numbers, that they know what they're shooting for, and that they have a clear, differentiation between if they're running project-based type of businesses like you are, that you have that clear breakdown by project is so crucial.
Totally. Yeah.
So, as for MDW, it doesn't just serve one part of a woman's life, which is one of the things that made it stand out. It honors marriage, motherhood, career, creativity, and ambition all in one space. So, why was that holistic approach important, and why does it set it, or why and how does it set you apart from other women's communities?
Well, this doesn't exist. Not only the topic, but the style of our events, which are influencer consumer media. So I, I never wanted to just be working and
Uh-huh.
only have that because when I only have that in my life, then I feel bad that I don't have other areas of my life, right? Like having
Yeah.
friends or going to the gym, right? So basically, the concept was when my partner founded this company, her husband was actually in the hospital and she was taking care of him. He had
Mm.
like Crohn's, and she realized there was no women's group that supported all the hats that a woman wears. And that was why she started Modern Day Wife, was to have, and actually the first events were totally co-ed. They were for people to come with their partner, right?
Oh, wow.
So now, we still have men come. It's not really so much like that, but we did just have a power couple panel at Chicago. So we had Ashunta Sharif and her husband, Core Hendricks. They did a whole thing on being a power couple and their
Amazing.
tips. So we're trying to implement it a bit more, but essentially, like, the concept is women want to have great relationships. Now, not everyone who comes to Modern Day Wife is married. In fact, I'm divorced and my partner is married and we both have kids. So I think it's for aspiring or you're in it or whatever, right? But the
Yeah.
concept is celebrating that we want to have great relationships. If you want to be a mom, you want to do well in motherhood, you want to have people to support you and a community. If you have a career, you want to have like best tips, you want to have a network, you want to expand, you want to be
Mhm.
motivated. And then we also have beauty, wellness, fashion, which is all these other personal aspects of your life that we really enjoy. And so it was the concept of celebrating all of those hats. Right now, you usually have to pick and choose between, I want to be part of this women's group that's just on scaling and founders and blah, blah, and that's it.
Right.
Or you're like in a stroller group because you're a stay at home mom and you're walking the baby in the stroller group.
Mhm.
There isn't something that includes everyone. So
Right.
our events not only include business owners, but they also include stay-at-home moms. We
Yeah.
have all of it.
I love that.
And that I think is also more of a real life. Like in my real life, I have some mom friends who are moms who don't work, moms who do work. And then I have friends who are not moms at all.
Yeah.
So I just think that's more real life.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that you guys have also shown that with some of the range of celebrity speakers that you bring to events, that it's not all married women. I love that you did the power couple thing, but
Yeah,
then you also have women that are, famously single and embracing their singlehood, women who are divorced, and the whole spectrum, that it is not just, one prototype of celebrity that you have at the events.
totally. And we're always trying to find ways to bring in more of the topics, right? Like motherhood and relationships. To be honest with you, people love talking about relationships. We did a celebrity panel in November in Scottsdale, and I had Hannah Wright, who's the winner from Love Island, and this other girl, Lauren Wood, who's a single mom. And we ended up, I keep using the word rogue, but I'm into it right now. We kind of went and we ended up talking for like a half hour about dating, and everyone loved it because people, if you ever notice, you should do this as an experiment. Post on your Instagram a picture of you and a guy. Everyone goes nuts. People get obsessed with relationships. So it is kind of a fun thing to bring into the events because it's fun. And relationships is a fun topic and it is different. So
I love that. So, as you're kind of juggling all of these things, because you mentioned earlier that you're still involved to some degree with your dad's nonprofit, you're living bi-coastally, raising a 5-year-old, and co-leading a growing company. So, how do you personally navigate the kind of ebb and flow that comes with all of this?
well, it's definitely there are I'm very happy right now because we're doing really well, and the last 2 events were magnificent. They were of the caliber that they need to be, and personally, I'm doing very well, but just a month ago, I was, like, dying.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
for
real.
I would say for a solid 6 weeks, I felt the worst I ever felt.
Hmm.
And I was so stressed about our events. And, it's very hard doing business when other people freeze things in regards to doing business. For example, like I was so like before we went into the holidays for Christmas and Hanukkah, I really wanted us to finish getting our New York sponsors because I knew the whole month of January everyone was going to be like, we can't, there's all, I don't know, people like stop doing business at certain points. And then in
Yeah.
February, it's like they pretend that there's something. It's the tariffs or it's the election, or they find a reason that business has to stop. And now I find always in this time period, people start doing business again.
Okay.
So that for me is very stressful, that cycle. So how do I navigate all of this? It's my team. If I
Hmm.
didn't have my team, I would I wouldn't have made it. You have to have people who really care. Like my two sales girls really, really care, Chelsea and Chelsea. They
Wait,
care about
there is a Chelsea and Chelsea that share the same role at a company run by a Meghan and Meghan.
yeah,
I love that.
that's right. And then and we have a Sonia, so we probably need to get a second Sonia. But they all just really, really care. And I think they also represent what our community is, which is we have a community of people that are kind of you ever saw the movie Almost Famous? They're called Band-Aids. Like they're your fans. So all of us are fans of Modern Day Wife. So therefore they're really passionate about being part of it. And because of that, I don't feel alone in the responsibility of the success of the company. They care just as much as I do.
Yeah.
That's how I survive.
I love that answer. The team and being able to lean on the team and that they're so vested in what you do. And I would love because you don't hear that often. There are some founders who are convinced that no one will care as much as they do. So, how did you cultivate a culture where you have team members who are, leaning in and actually care so much about the work that you do and the impact you're making?
It's the same reason why people come to our events. And I've been this way my whole life. We don't have an heir. You have to grant people importance in life. You can feel you're important, but you're really only as important as other people are important. And if people are not
Yeah.
important to you, or only select people who provide some strategy, or that I can't think of the right word right now, or if you're only selectively nice to some people, people aren't going to like you because you feel you're obnoxious, just to bring it to basics. I've never liked obnoxious people, men or women.
Yeah.
I think being nice and being friendly and making people feel comfortable and being warm is extremely important. Asking people questions, caring about other people and what they think, as opposed to only caring about yourself. Those to me are very personal things for me because I have been through a lot in my own life. I've had times where I was popular, and I've had times where I was left out. And I
Yeah.
know what it feels in both ways. I've had times where I was really pretty, and I've had times where I was really ugly. So I know what it feels, all of these different feelings. And so if you know this, you can't pretend to then not know it and then not treat people the way you'd want to be treated. So I think it's just a matter of when, I don't know, it's just being like for real and just
Yeah.
thinking other people are important. Like, I don't know Gwyneth Paltrow personally. I don't know some people personally. I don't know what it would feel like to be at a group event. I'm not sure. I just know that I've been to places where you feel very intimidated by people, and I've been to places where you feel very comfortable. And in my work environment and in my event environment, it's important for me that people feel comfortable and happy. And that's my very long answer to a simple question.
But it was such a great answer to the question because
Thank you.
I think that we definitely overcomplicate it sometimes, and people forget the. I don't know why the song is now stuck in my head, the bare necessities from the Jungle Book, but that's as
I
you were
love
describing
that.
it, that was what was coming to mind is that, just get back to the basics. Like, actually care about people and don't put yourself above people. It goes a really long way.
Well, also, you have to have perspective on the planet. Like, we have so much here in the United States. And when you travel and you see the way everyone else lives, even in Europe, where there's no space,
So true.
you can't go to the store and like get napkins. They don't even, they don't give you napkins when you go to, I lived in Australia, studied there. It's not like they just like give you have to, everything is it's very scarcity. Or you go to you drive through, I don't know which areas this was, but you drive through places where they have makeshift homes, like all these
Yeah.
areas with these tin roofs. And you could have been born there. You just got
Right.
very lucky that you were born here. And so I think when you have that perspective too, it's like you can't just, I don't know, how can you operate in life without knowing that those situations are existing right now? So I just think you have to have perspective on life instead of going around and flashing everything you have. There's got to be perspective. So, anyways,
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you for sharing that. It's because it's so easy for us to kind of get caught up in our day to day and our own problems and to lose track of that perspective.
that's right.
Yeah. And as we are closing out our conversation today, I would love to ask if there's one thing that you want a woman listening to this right now to walk away believing about herself and her potential, what would it be?
That you do know what is the right thing. And when you go against your intuition on something you should do or a thought you have or something you should get done or something you should communicate, it ends up biting you in the butt. So I think just going in on the right thing and not doubting what you know is right. That's all.
Yeah, I think that is so valuable. So, for everyone listening, that was Meghan Fialkoff, one of the leaders of Modern Day Wife. And if her story resonated with you, head to themodernDayWife.com, follow at The Modern Day Wife on Instagram, and check out the Modern Day Wife podcast wherever you listen.
Thank you.
As always, if this conversation resonated with you, here's what you can do. Subscribe to the Purpose Profit Shift wherever you listen to podcasts. We've got episodes dropping regularly with more visionary founders and changemakers who are reshaping how business gets done. And if you found value in today's episode, leave us a rating and review. It helps other values-driven leaders find us. Until next time, keep leading with intention, scaling responsibly, and building businesses that matter. I'm Rachel Brunier Green, and this is the Purpose Profit Shift.